So I'm gonna kind of switch back to the diagnoses thing. I got diagnosed with PTSD, MDD, and panic disorder. That was like years back.
How old were you? And did you pursue that yourself, or was it pushed on you?
Did I pursue
like going to see a psychiatrist, to even like I'm assuming that the only way you could quote unquote get diagnosed is through a psychiatrist or like an actual like test person?
Yes.
So like I guess my question is like what got you to that point to be diagnosed?
It was after I had like a couple years where like I didn't really go out. Like I pretty much stayed at home most of the time. Not necessarily like completely the whole 2 years, but like I like didn't go out really, except for the few gigs that I got as an actor. Then it's like, okay.
Oh, this was
in NorCal.
Oh, wait, you were acting in NorCal as well?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've been acting for like almost 10 years now, I think. But I know, it's crazy. Like, I was living in Sac. And, you know, thankfully rent was way cheaper over there. And I could essentially afford all my expenses just with acting work mostly, assuming that I'm being smart with my finances. But I, you know, would just go out for the times that I booked something. That way I could essentially stay home for like another month or so and then, you know, book something else again and etc. So like there was like almost, it was maybe, I don't know the exact time frame. It had to have been like anywhere between a year and a half to 2 years, where because I didn't, I know she's shedding, you can pull it. I do. This is, yeah. Oh my God.
It's like a dandelion. I don't know why I'm talking.
Make a wish.
Atsu, make a wish.
I'm just gonna have to back again later.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think going through that experience of like really struggling to go out and do anything, essentially it was my breaking point. So when I finally had the courage to, and the energy specifically to like do more, to take care of myself and address all that, then that's kind of pushed me. Because I knew I needed help. And I didn't really know what I needed help in, because again, I didn't know what the diagnoses would even be.
Yeah.
I did some research, but I'm a firm believer that, you know, we can only do so much research, and then there's a lot that we need professional help with all the nuance and all that. I guess that's another thing to differentiate from is like when I was getting my initial diagnoses, that was in NorCal. So that looked different than me trying to get my ADHD diagnoses here in SoCal. When I finally went in for my ADHD assessment, by then I had already done research. I like really struggled to accept the idea that I might even have ADHD.
Why?
Because I was like...
Is it because it's technically considered a learning disability?
Actually, I don't even think I got that far in my conscious.
Uh-huh.
I think I more so struggled with it because I didn't even really understand ADHD outside of, oh, if you have ADHD, you're more likely to struggle in school and like not graduate, or like, you know, those were like the only things I had heard. And like, I graduated summa cum laude in high school. So it's kind of like, there's no way. There's just no way, right? Like, or you know, like people with ADHD tend to have like a much harder time with everything else. And I'm like, but I'm functioning. There's no way, right? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also, I do want to point out like a complete. Well, it's somewhat related. Kids that are gifted. Well, that's such a weird term. I don't really like that term. But kids that were in programs like what is that thing that you had to take a test to get into in like grade school, in like elementary school or something? You get into this program, and then it's supposed to mean that your IQ is ultra high and you have high potential, you're ultra smart. A couple of my friends are in it.
Not like, shoot,
let me look it up. Mensa. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, they're known as like the high IQ society. It's only open to people who score at the 98th percentile or higher on a standardized supervised IQ test.
So what does that mean?
It just means like they're like from a young age they have people around them have very high expectations of them, and they do really well in school. A lot of them actually end up with mental health issues. A lot of them actually have a lot of trouble adjusting to outside of school environments, basically like, you know, work life. And they struggle building connections with people and like dealing with change. And
so the thing too that I kind of want to highlight there is transitioning from school to outside.
Oh my God.
So
that was a struggle.
I got diagnosed like way after I graduated. And like, again, when I was considering, or when I was looking into ADHD, and I kept feeling like there's no way, right? Like I feel like people with ADHD have it way harder. What does that say about my trauma? But I was like, I don't have it that hard. Like it's.
This is like topics like when we say things like that, because I know I have a tendency to say that as well, and it makes me think about like, wow, we're really at risk of being in an abusive relationship, like super at risk, because we have a tendency to like gaslight ourselves or like underlook what, like, basically like not view what we're going through as like what it actually is. We try to like, you know, have you ever thought about that?
No.
Really? Oh, I have times. I mean, the record says, but I do think people with ADHD has a very high chance of getting into an abusive emotionally or physically, or any type of abusive relationship, because we are forgetful, because we know that, like, let's be honest, like, this is how I view it, right? Like, this might trigger some people with the terms that I'm using. Like, I do know that there are some things I'm deficient at.
Yeah.
Like, in a lot of ways, like, cleaning up after myself, remembering things, and like there's a lot of quirks that is like would upset a lot of people. And I grew up with like my parents, families getting irritated with me, getting frustrated with me because I'm not learning from my mistakes, when in actual reality it was just me forgetting. So it made me always think of a lot of things was my fault, and it translates in an adult life into relationships. It leads to self-doubt, and along with our forgetfulness, right? We kind of start relying on our partner to tell us what actually happened, which then results in... Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's my eye. It's my right eye. I'm not crying yet. It's just my right eye, but yes.
Okay.
Continue.
Like I just feel like a lot of ADHD traits that leads to, first of all, like our low self-esteem and like our tendency to doubt ourselves and rely on other people for what actually happened, or triggering our memory because we forget so much. It leads to like a whole... It doesn't always lead to, but it has a high potential if we are with the wrong people that decide to utilize that to their advantage. We start living in their made up world. And then we drift away from reality, and we lose our sense of self, our sense of reality. And like, I guess this is something I've actually thought about a lot in my early mid-20s.
No, I love that you're bringing this up, because there was a point in my life where I really had to get facts from other people in terms of what happened, because I was told by my partner at the time that, something else, like it was this, like this is what happened, and all that. And so I would feel like I don't remember it that way. And it's like, maybe we're having two different stories and narratives, which there's room for that and all that. But like, I did feel like my forgetfulness was like definitely used against me. I want to be careful. Also, let me say this disclaimer really first. I want to say this disclaimer first. I want to be really careful and mindful of just throwing out the word narcissist and all that, just like as a way to say that outwardly to anyone who's listening, because I do believe that is being thrown around a little
nowadays,
haphazardly.
Yeah, nowadays it's definitely thrown out a lot.
And I also want to be careful about, making statements that someone was gaslighting me and all that type of stuff, because there's a very big difference between someone with an insecure attachment style who is unaware, and there's also a difference between somebody who's genuinely gaslighting us. I want to just shine some light on the nuance before I kind of dive into this. There was a relationship at one point that really messed up my reality in terms of what is real and what isn't, and that was a time when I started actually researching what's a narcissist. I mean, what does
How
that
did you
say?
even know to look into narcissism?
Somebody else was saying it to me.
Like the way you're describing this partner, or what you went through.
It was somebody who knew them.
Oh.
Your face. Yeah.
Interesting.
They saw our relationship, and yeah, at one point, like, one of our roommates was like, dude, Sarah, you're getting abused. I was like, what do you mean? That was like hard for me to hear from a roommate.
Right. One thing to add to my point earlier, because we're so forgetful, we tend to forget that like something happened like yesterday or earlier today, the way they treated us. Afterwards, we focus on something else. We're hyper focusing on like our new interest. And then we forget about all the bad things that happened in the like earlier today or earlier this week.
Right.
And that leads to more situations of us like, I guess like allowing these situations to happen. I mean, I guess it like teaches our partner who would be utilizing that, that it's okay because they'll just forget.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean,
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I just thought about it.
You're good. But I just also want to say, to be fair, I do think that like my previous partner in that scenario also had a lot of like undiagnosed stuff. So I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, he's a narcissist or whatever. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that was when I started looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am wrestling with all of that. Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm still wrestling with differentiating between at what point is it the attachment style and at what point is it this, it becomes like narcissistic abuse, right? The fact that you had talked about like us, you know, having a tendency to put ourselves in like situations because we don't see it as like that bad is definitely, I am more inclined to dismiss the gravity of my experience and my situation because I have already gone through so much that if it's not to that degree of what I've gone through in the past, then I have a tendency to push through and think it's fine. This is workable and blah, blah, blah. And that's not necessarily just talking about romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really not about even the kind of relationship. It's just the concept of being in any type of relationship or any type of dynamic. My life has felt so hard my whole life that if I'm feeling this is hard right now, it's probably just because of that.
I will add to your point that I think it's not just relationships and dynamics. Yeah. It's also like work. It's also our hobbies. It's also like how we just like essentially how we're living life.
Yeah, literally.
Right? Because like, you know, yeah, like I think back on some of the hours that I worked in the past, it was not okay.
Yeah.
Like the amount of effort I put into my work, because in, you know, at one point I thought I looked at, you know, in my first job right out of college. We were going to talk about that. The adjustment from college.
Oh yeah.
How do we, okay.
I have no.
That is actually really important to talk about because that was such a like for me, it was a struggle for, I would say like two plus years. But yeah, I would just add to the fact that it's not just relationship dynamics. It's also I would say every aspect of our life. It's how we essentially engage with the world.
Right. And I think that's exactly why it was and still is kind of hard for me to grasp when something is too hard, because my definition of too hard is apparently in a different threshold. And even as I talk about this, like, I am still struggling with the concept of not being able to do something.
Okay, out of pure curiosity, so I personally am a firm believer of, if you work hard enough, if you try hard enough, and then you want it bad enough, you'll get there. And it's funny. I think it's a really funny thing for me, because I've dated people that have told, where I told them, like, if we love each other enough, if we make an effort, if we love each other enough and we both make an effort in this relationship, it's going to work out. And they did not believe that. Right. And we argued about that statement for a good portion of our relationship.
Yeah.
Even at the very end, obviously they won.
For both of us.
But I have that perspective on basically everything in my life. And then I think it also stems into what we're saying, in terms of how we push ourselves.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on that? I have a feeling it's...
So honestly, growing up, and essentially up until, I don't know, a month ago when I had my concussion.
That's a pretty long time in your life. I wouldn't say that the new you is the real you yet.
Definitely not yet. I am struggling with it. But yeah, my whole life, I pretty much believed the same thing. If we worked hard enough, if we set our mind to it, if we shift our perspective, if we work on our mindset, if we keep focusing on growing and doing better, if our values in terms of growth are aligned, then it can work out. Mm-hmm. Any relationship can work out, all these things. I definitely did believe that. And
I'm sensing the keyword "did."
Definitely. So here's the thing with my concussion that I'm still struggling with. The fact that my equilibrium is so off, and I feel so disoriented, and I'm over here walking like Krabby and Kingler in my kitchen so that I don't have to turn a 180 because I get nauseous. I'm over here sliding with my socks on so I don't have to take extra steps just to get to one part of my kitchen. And I can talk about what I believe and what I'm thinking about and all the internal stuff going on inside of my head, but cognitively, reading is really hard, which is I don't know if you've seen the Super Mario or the Mario Party video that I have, which is why I am not able to really comprehend much externally. Any type of input right now is so hard for me to translate and comprehend.
You won.
Huh? I know I won it.
I'm kind of butthurt.
Honestly, that's what made it funnier. and it is so crazy to me to think how many times people have reacted oh my God, you had this concussion, how bad it was, because I didn't know it was that bad, but like that. I felt your face. Is there something you want to say?
Remember how I called you about how, the amount, I asked you multiple times how long you were out for, and you told me multiple times the exact time. And I was like, Sarah, that's pretty serious. You should go see a doctor. And you're like, no, I'm not gonna go see a doctor. No.
Yeah. So, like, for context, for anyone who's new here, I lost consciousness, and I've been telling everybody 10 to 20 minutes, but there's a potential, very high potential, that could have been 30 minutes because I didn't actually know how long I was blacked out for, and I don't know how long it took for me, or I don't know how long it was between me first hearing the ringing in my ears to me actually being able to physically get up, which felt like a long time. But yeah, all that to say.
Hold on, to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
For people who have fainted or like just been completely out of consciousness, 1 minute is already considered like a long time.
Yeah.
That's a contest I'm trying to give.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've had my very first concussion was like no more than 5 minutes, and everybody already freaked out. But obviously I was like, no, I want to play basketball. But yeah, so like I still was like, this concussion isn't that bad. It's, I'll be fine. I'll recover. It's been almost a month, and I have plenty of friends still and family members I have not told about my concussion because I don't know. I'm not going to be like, hey, yo, what's up? Haven't talked to you, but guess what? Got a concussion.
Why not? This would be something you would say too. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you, like, out of the blue, if we didn't talk for a while, and then you out of the blue texted me and were like, hey, I got a concussion. Or like, actually, this would be like our type.
Well, yes, that is.
It's more so our dynamic.
Yes.
But I will say, for like most neurotypical conversations, it does not go like that.
No, it does not, which is why I don't. Like, I finally just told one of my friends today, because she texted me to hang out on Sunday, and she was like, okay, let's, it'll be early and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, by the way, do you mind picking me up?
Why can't you drive?
I can't drive yet because my right eye is messed up and my peripheral is messed up and my equilibrium is off because I had a concussion. So do you mind picking me up? I just casually dropped it in there, and she was like, Jesus Christ, Sarah. And I was like, what? Like, and so all that to say, like, I'm still struggling with, okay, how severe is severe concussion? Like, how severe is this, right? Because I don't have contacts. And that's very much symbolic of how I feel like I've navigated my whole life. When I talk about, like, yeah, this happened in my childhood, and then I hear my therapist say, oh my God, and I'm like, there's, okay, I guess it's something then.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. And paired with the fact that as someone with ADHD, getting out of bed is hard. Like, transitioning, like you said, from like school to work is hard. Transitioning from high school to college was really hard for me.
Structure.
Yeah. So if everything is hard and if everything feels hard and that's my normal, and I think like, well, life's not always going to be easy. It's going to be hard at times, Then when I face any type of difficulty in a relationship, I'm already starting at a much higher threshold. You and I are likely to already start like up here where people's normals might be like, you know, minus 10 dB. I don't know why I'm using dB probably because I was just editing, but
I was just like, what? Are you thinking about like the scale of sound?
I know, yeah, the decibels.
It's like, so if our baseline is already like hard, right? Well, then what is too hard?
Exactly. That is the thing. And that is, I think, where I'm still at. For example, with my concussion, I just now started being able to physically walk like 3 apartments down. And it's been frustrating. As somebody, okay, let me put it this way. In the last 3 years, I have gone snowboarding. I have done Kung Fu. I have done stunt training. I have done choreography. I have done dance, obviously. I have done...
Climbing?
Climbing, yeah, there you go. Indoor climbing, sport climbing outdoors, top rope specifically. I have done weaponry stuff with collie sticks and swords. And it's like, how did I get a concussion? None of those. I got a concussion at home, walking to my bathroom. I'm just saying. The irony of it all. So as somebody who has lived her whole life needing some sort of physical activity and sports and loves to freaking spin and move around.
That's really scary.
Yeah. I had a meltdown when one of the managers here saw me the first time because, like, I've climbed with him. He's seen how active I am. You know, like there's been times where I played soccer with him and his kids.
Wait,
like,
you play soccer?
I mean, I know how to play soccer. I'm not really.
I don't believe you when you say that.
What? I'm not hustling you.
You could be.
That is true. That there is that possibility. That's very true. Actually, I can't even say that it's not. But yeah, like when he saw me and I like could not even stand because of my muscle weakness, and I was like that for like a few weeks, like 2.5, almost 3 weeks, and like even just standing for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, my left side would start shaking because I hit my head on the right side first. So my whole left side was really feeling it. And I just had a breakdown when I saw his eyes and he looked at me like, what happened? And it was hard because it's like, as somebody who, again, is Asian, has ADHD and has, you know, trauma and all that, I have coped and learned to be self-sufficient, and I have coped by being hyper-independent. And to have somebody who knows how physically active I am and to have done those things with me and to see their reaction, not that it was bad, but the way it hurt him to see me hurting like that was actually, weirdly enough, the thing that made me realize, oh shit, this is bad. oh shit, this concussion is bad. And I'm still wrestling with it because like I had a conversation with my mom, I don't know, like a few days ago or so, or maybe last week. I feel like I always say a few days ago and it could have been like a month ago, but I think it was last week. And she was like telling me, you know, like, no, you had a severe concussion. Like it's severe trauma to your brain. And I was like, what do you mean severe trauma? Like, no, I can do this. I can get through this. It's fine. Like, you know, but like my body's literally like, no, like even as my body gets, a little stronger day by day. And I was just telling Shengjia this, it's like, sometimes my body feels a little stronger. And as soon as I instantly feel it's got more energy or strength, I physically start just instinctually going into this like, okay, I'm going to get things done. I'm going to do things. And then literally my brain, like my physical brain, not my mind, but my physical brain can't handle it. And I start like getting woozy and I get nauseous to the point where I might throw up. And it's like taking this experience for me to, yeah, there are limits. And it's so hard for me to grasp. And it's hard for me to accept or embrace the concept that maybe love isn't enough in a relationship. Maybe regardless of us both, you know, whether romantic relationship or friendship, us both desiring value, regardless of that desire or regardless of the desire for growth or, you know, quality, whatever it is that you're longing for, it may not be enough. Like, I'm not saying this applies to everyone because it doesn't. You know, there are other people on the other end, which was mind-blowing to me. But I do think there is a sense of like, I need to learn from the opposite end. I need to learn from the people who tend to, you know, want the easy way, because not one or the other is inherently wrong. It's just a matter of balance. And I am too far on the other end.
My only reaction to you saying that earlier is I refuse. I like strongly refuse to believe that what the effort that I'm gonna make is not gonna be enough, because it could just be a matter of time.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Like, and it just makes me like, I know that I'm very, you know, obviously on one side of the spectrum, and I've dated people who were strongly on the other side of the spectrum, right? And it was interesting. Kind of brought like a weird medium. Like I got them to kind of start believing in it, and then I was, I guess, quote unquote, becoming more realistic. But at the end of the day, like, if I was to fully be on board with the fact that me doing my best, trying my very, very best, and believing in myself and working to get there is not going to get me to the outcome that I am working towards, no, I don't want to believe that. Totally.
I mean, I think what you're saying makes 100% sense and it's valid, because it's like, I don't either.
Well, good.
Like, I don't want to believe that either.
That sounds so depressing, honestly.
I think that's why. I think that's why we don't want to believe it. Because for one, as people who feel so freaking much.
I think you feel a lot. I don't feel a lot. I'm still...
That is true, actually.
Well, okay, you're really good at like knowing your emotions and feelings. Like, that was the topic we did want to talk about. It's how our forms of ADHD is different.
Yeah.
like you think a lot more. And I don't think it's actually very true. Like, actually, like my body will physically react before I have any thought process go on. Whereas for you, you think a lot more.
It's very true, because from the outside, if you don't know me, it can easily look like I'm just, I don't even know, like how would you actually, maybe you're better at,
like you might think the normal, the typical amount. Like it's I can see it. Like even when I first met you, I could tell like you would process and think about what you're gonna say and how you're gonna respond to what I said before saying like words came out. Whereas externally for me, like there's no break. It's just
going.
Yeah.
No,
and I could say like stupid things, but I think to me in my mind it's like, it's part of my little quirk.
I think that's why I click with you though, because I much prefer just the honesty. Like I don't care about like the bluntness as much. Like I love it because I'm like, one, we can laugh about it, which is, like
I do appreciate the fact that when I called you after I saw you from your concussion and you were walking funny, I didn't even know how to describe it. I was just like, you kind of look like a hobo. Like, I totally know that most people would take huge offense to it. And I appreciate the fact that you did it and we laughed about it and we enjoyed.
Yeah, to me, I don't find a lot of those things offensive. I think it's hilarious because I know you. That's why. Like, I know there's innocence behind it, and it's just us just saying stream of consciousness, and there's nothing more to it.
It's like how in your childhood when you said the taboo thing about your grandmother and like death related, I think.
Oh yeah.
And you essentially got away with it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what you said.
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I did the same thing to my aunt when I was younger too. I basically, my grandma was passing away, and I was folding paper. In Chinese culture, you fold paper money so that you can burn it at their grave, and that means they're gonna inherit that wealth on the other side. And afterwards, I told my aunt, I went back to her place and I was like, oh, I did this and this and this. And then I was like, when it's your turn. Dude, like, if anyone else in the family were to say it, it would have gotten a way different reaction. But, like, my aunt actually, like, laughed about it. And, like, she did not take it badly at all. I was like, when it's your turn, I'm going to get you like a mansion. I'm going to buy you like this fancy car that I'm going to like burn. And like, it's very sweet, but it's also like, you don't say that shit.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing is I don't understand a lot of people's subtext. I really, really, really struggle with it. Like I'm good at reading body language, and I feel like I'm pretty intuitive, but there's a difference between like intuition and normalized subtext in culture. Does that make sense?
Can you give me an example of intuition versus cultural subtext?
Yeah, like I feel like intuition is more gut.
Okay.
There may not even be a tangible thing that I can connect it to, but it's just like a gut feeling based on my interaction or whatever. Right?
Okay, like for example, when I said what I said, like that you look like a hobo, you did not, your intuition was immediately like, oh, there's no malice meant behind it.
I'm not sure if I would call that my intuition. Maybe. Maybe. But
It's okay if it's not.
I have no idea. But I would say maybe an example that I can think of is like, it feels like I shouldn't go here today.
Okay.
But I have no tangible evidence as to why. It's just a gut feeling. Or when I am walking the dogs at like 1 a.m. and, it feels like, hey, maybe I shouldn't go to this part of the town like I normally do right now. And there's no fear behind it. There's no anxiety in it. It's just purely gut feeling. It's not fear-based. Versus subtext. Subtext is, from my perspective, and this is still developing, so may not be complete, but there are social norms that I feel like just kind of go over my head, where let's say, for example, I'm having an interaction with someone and like their eyes like look at me as if there's something else they want to say, or there's something I missed and I'm supposed to know something. I'd be like, what does that mean? Like, I don't get it. Like, did I miss a cue or something? Like, I don't get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm grasping what you're saying. It's like it's like they're trying to signal something to you, but it's not necessarily. I mean, it's more of a cultural thing, like whether it be like American culture or like other types of ethnic culture. But I guess I'll assume American culture since we're in America.
Yeah.
And most people grew up in America, and they would automatically assume someone else would pick up that, that eye movement, that look.
Yes.
But the reality is not everyone was born or grew up in America. And even if you did grow up in America, especially if you are from an ethnic family background that is more traditional, you're not going to ever be around any of that subtext. So you're never going to pick it up.
Yes.
Like, there's so much of 90s pop culture that I can't connect with because I was never around it.
Yes. There's like all these subcultures, right?
Yeah, that, not just like 90s, 2000s, even now, like I still struggle with a lot of the culture and like subtext, and I'm just like, huh? Yeah,
exactly. And so that's where it's like, okay, well, subtext is really freaking hard for me. And it's like my brain's already working in overtime trying to process everything else. So when you just say all the random shit, I'm like, thank God. Like, just say it to me. I'd rather have that. I know we were talking about something else prior to this. But
we were talking about something pretty serious. I don't remember what it was. It was definitely more serious than this lightheartedness.
Our definition of hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I refuse to believe that.
There it is.
Like, the idea of not being able to believe that I can achieve something if I work hard enough, or, like it's just a matter of time that I'm going to get there. It just seems like, then what's the point of trying? What's the point of ever making any effort, because I'm never going to get there?
Yeah, that was, okay. There it is. So we got sidetracked when I said that I think we feel so much. And then you're all like, I think you feel so much.
Oh, yeah. That's how we got there. And then we were like, I was like, also, you think more.
So I do feel a lot, and I feel things so intensely that it's not even necessarily just emotions. It could be like feeling things intensely in terms of sensory overload. It could be even just like sensing a tremble, tiny tremble on the ground.
You can detect earthquakes?
Well, I mean, I'm not a detector.
I mean, you're making it sound like you are.
But there has been like a lot of times where I'd be like, did you feel that? And then my partner would be like, what? And I'd be like, no, seriously, did you feel that? And they're like, what? I'm like, there's an earthquake. And they'd be like, no. I'm like, I'm gonna look this up. Let me show you. Let me show you.
Talk about like the need to feel validated.
It's true.
Oh God,
it's true.
No. I know it's because it's also something you struggle with too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I've had to work so hard to make room for that intensity, right? In the way I feel things. So that has definitely contributed to me wanting to believe that I just work hard enough. You know, the way my grandparents modeled for me, my grandpa was disabled, like he was half paralyzed since he was 34, which, did I ever tell you?
No, you did not. I knew he was paralyzed, but I did not know since 34.
How crazy is it that I'm 34 now and had that thing happen with my concussion, with all the symptoms and all that, and all of that.
Holy shit.
Yeah, all of that happened to me at 34.
Some weird shit.
This is a whole other thing. But yeah, like I think it's so hard for me to even wrestle with the idea that something's out of my control. We often talk about how we can be controlling when it's like with other people and all that. And I think that's more commonly talked about. And maybe it's statistically more common as well. I don't know. But what I do think isn't talked about as much is the way that I, or people like me, try to have a sense of control by believing and holding on to the idea that if I do things this way or hard enough or to this degree, I can make it happen. Because if I hold on to that idea, then it doesn't feel as unstable. Especially because everything else in my life already feels unstable, having ADHD. So many things in my life I don't understand. Then all the more I'm going to want to hang on to things I can understand, which is myself. Still wrestling with that. But yeah. Anything on that you want to share? Or should I tie up the bow?
I was like, what are you doing?
I didn't know how to.
I was like, are you trying to make a heart? Because this is a shitty heart. I was just thinking Etsu was snoring.
She's so cute when she snores.
I didn't know she snores.
She snores like a man, but but it's a
That's
cute.
hot. No, I was kidding. Please edit that out. weird shit I say. Oh God.
It's fine. You know how many times you've called out the weird things I said?
That's true. That's true. But yeah, like I feel like I'm enjoying like just being more intentional in terms of like us taking the time to actually like talk about this, because a lot of the topics we haven't actually talked about, and a lot of times when we're out playing Pokemon or hanging out, we are usually around other people who aren't as interested in mental health or some of the hobbies that outside of Pokemon that me and Sarah both like to do. So it's kind of nice. I like the fact that it does feel intentional, and it in a lot of ways I think it's good for both of us to be able to like focus on this portion of our life, or this aspect of our life, and actually try to dissect into it a little bit more.
Yeah. So Shengjia and I talked about this, and we're thinking we're gonna do a little bit more of this. You know, we're gonna explore it. We're gonna explore and see how it goes, because I personally have so much fun when you and I talk like this. Like, it's just chill. It's so nice to just share thoughts that are unpolished.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to share them as I'm still going through it, to navigate that unpolished, non-shiny, I just think of Pokemon, parts of my life with somebody else who can relate, but is also still has her differences. You know, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like too many people I interact with get worried or concerned if I start asking certain questions, you know, and it's like sometimes I just want to ask it, like, because I'm just thinking about it. Like it's you know.
It's funny because the way you ask questions is more about their inner self, which makes them uncomfortable because a lot of people are very avoidant, or they are scared of being vulnerable, right? Whereas my questions, they're all about the external stuff.
It's actually so true. If you see us hang out in a group of people, it's so funny to observe, just like detached, you know? All the questions
she
like
asks.
High,
like, just like detached, you know, bro.
That's how you can tell my right eye is like. But like, it's so funny because when we just talk and hang with different people, like you see our own tendencies, and that's when you can kind of see the difference between me and Shengjia, which is really nice and funny from my perspective. But I think that's also why I enjoy these conversations even more, because I know that even if we disagree, you're going to share your perspective with me. Like, you know, you may be more compassionate about it and you may want to be considerate about it, but you're not going to not say it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, I hate it when people don't tell me what they really think or feel. Yes, I am sensitive, but please tell me, honestly.
I will say it took me years to get to where I am today. For, gosh, like pretty much 30 years of my life, I was not good at being confrontational in any way, or even acknowledging my own feelings.
I mean, I get that. Because, I mean, I still struggle with confrontation. But, like, it's refreshing for me when you and I just say stuff and neither of us think it's confrontation. You know,
I
like
see what
we
you're
don't even
saying.
feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, because to us, it's a pure curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to others, it may come off as a confrontation. But that's more of a reflection of their own insecurity.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, in actual reality, that's more of a reflection of themselves than it is us, because we are purely just curious.
And I think that's like the part that's the most refreshing. You know, we're not necessarily telling each other, this is a safe space. You know, we don't even have to say that to each other. We just exist and ask and talk, and it's okay if I change my mind later. Like, I might have one perspective right now, but like, it's also okay if my mind changes on that, because maybe I get more context or whatever. And I think that like isn't embraced enough. So yeah, I think our friendship is special.
Oh. You want to get some dinner?
Dinner, okay.
Oh my God.
I like food.
I mean, I do know what you like.
But anyways, if you have stayed and hung out with us, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. It is really nice to just share our journey, both as Asian Americans and as people who are neurodivergent, and to share it with you guys. If there's something that you resonated with, or that you enjoyed, or you just thought was like funny and want to laugh with us, drop it in the comments below. We'll probably be laughing about it too.
Or if you have any specific topics you want us to talk about, we'd be happy to address it.
Yes. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.